They're killing little children, people in school uniforms with school ID cards.
Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has resigned. It all started with the shutdown of major social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Today, it has turned into the darkest day in the history of democratic Nepal. There is a countrywide curfew as we speak, but an order isn't keeping the Nepalese indoors. Around 19 have been killed so far. The Prime Minister has resigned and the crisis risks spilling over to the rest of South Asia, a region that has seen some bloody student protests in the past decade. So now the question is, has Nepal sparked South Asia's next crisis? I'm Ananya Datta. Let's start this episode of Grey Zone. The violence actually has roots in a directive sent out by the Directives for Managing the Use of Social Media Networks back in November last year. All social media platforms, big and small, were obligated to register with the Ministry of Communications and Information Technology. In the months to come, Meta, which owns Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, then Alphabet's YouTube, and X, which was formerly Twitter, all ignored the deadline date. So on Thursday last week, the lights were shut on all these social media platforms, 26 in total. And that lit a fuse, especially among the young generation, often called the Gen Z. The government called it a public order measure, but for the youth, it seemed like a gag order. On Monday, a peaceful rally started with the capital's eastern city of New Baneshwar. By midday, the protesters reached Parliament and started pushing barricades. Within minutes, they were seen storming into the Parliament premises, and the police responded with water cannons, tear gas, rubber bullets, and eventually live fire.
Police are supposed to be our protector, and they opened fire on students, on everyone. We just wanted to prove a point. We don't want corruption. We don't want this. We don't want them to lead our country. And they just killed people. Like, life doesn't matter to them.
I am very disappointed since yesterday because the government used bullets against the students, who were just raising their voice against.
The violence soon spread to the rest of the country. Some even hurled stones at Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's house in his hometown. Today, it was burned down. Soon after, Kathmandu lifted the social media ban and the Prime Minister resigned. But it looks like it was too late. The anger you see on the streets of Nepal today is not limited to Instagram Reels. It's about years of corruption, nepotism, and broken promises. In fact, a viral online movement called the Nepo Kid has exposed the lavish lifestyles of politicians' children, while ordinary youth are struggling to keep the lights on. Nepal is experiencing what the experts call a youth bulge, a period where the large youth population could power major social and economic transformation. But the policies in Nepal aren't tailored for them. People aged 15 to 35 make up to 30% of Nepal's population, which is significantly higher than the global average, which is just 15.7%. Last year, which is 2024, the youth unemployment rate stood at 20.82%. Reports estimate that 400,000 young Nepalese enter the labor force every single year. But more than half, 50%, migrate abroad due to the lack of domestic opportunities. Which is why remittances are an economic lifeline for the country. By 2024, remittances accounted for about 25% of the GDP, placing Nepal among the world's most remittance-dependent economies. It isn't the first time that unemployment and decades of corruption have forced the youth to bloody the streets. Unfortunately, South Asia has had its fair share of them in the last couple of years. Look at Sri Lanka. In July of 2022, the streets of Colombo became the stage for a revolution. Students, workers, and the middle class stormed the president's house. Gotabaya Rajapaksa fled the country. Days later, he resigned. It was the kind of youth-driven revolt that rewrote the island's politics. Let's shift to Bangladesh. Just last year in July of 2024, students started their protests voicing their anger against the reinstatement of a controversial job quota. By mid-July, campuses had turned into war zones. Police were firing tear gas and clashing with pro-government activists. One student, Abu Said, was fatally shot among the many. His name still circulates in hashtags on social media platforms. Pakistan's story runs deeper. The most explosive moment came on May 9, 2023, when Imran Khan's arrest unleashed a nationwide firestorm, riots, arson, brutal crackdowns. The populist leader today sits behind bars and his party has been disbanded, but their influence remains. Kathmandu, Colombo, Dhaka, Islamabad, 4 South Asian capitals, 4 flashpoints, all shaken not by coups, not by foreign wars, but by the anger of their own youth. This region doesn't move in silos, its politics bleeds across borders. Now Nepal sits at a crossroads. Its youth has already toppled the top man, but will it be able to stop the endless cycle of the same men, Oli, Prachanda, and Durba, from returning to power? That's the question we are asking. You've been watching Grey Zone. Thanks for watching.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.